Okay, everybody. Evening show. This afternoon was a bad one. I thought that one video was going to be good, but oh well. So the good show will be tonight. Lucy's late. Must be working late tonight. And wow, there's a lot of blue up there. Carol, how did you manage to get the? You don't know how to use it. Oh well. Ann got one, so you got one. So Terry. We'll do a lot of short clips tonight. Uh, you get free intel. And being on the one of the best news channel on YouTube. I got yesterday's extra report, K, so that will be one of the long ones. The 25-minute one. So the first one's going to be a 5-minute one from Trisha. The second one is from be a short one from Biddy. Then I got the third one will be a video I got from one guy on YouTube of Tina Peters. They got a video shot inside the thing there. So we'll check that one out. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully Lucy will be in. Got everybody else working. We'll go ahead and get started.
prepared two battalions in order to be ready for the possible invocation of the Insurrection Act. The President of the United States writing that if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of immigration, customs, and enforcement who are just trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to the matter. He came out on Friday and reiterated, he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want it. And that's an important distinction, okay? Because there's a political cost to it too, and we can get into that. And we've seen it reflected already in some poll numbers. There is a political cost to the Insurrection Act. One of you guys in the comments, I think it was on Friday, had a really insightful thing to say, which was that Bush, for example, after Rodney King did not get reelected, and then you pointed out Eisenhower as well faced that challenge after Arkansas. So, like, people don't like to see this, but at the same time, what do you do when you're challenged with lawmakers in that state of Minnesota that want to defy you so aggressively?
Well, the Insurrection Act, which has been used by 48% of the presidents as of this moment, the Insurrection Act also, if you look at it, I believe it was Bush, the elder Bush, he used it, I think, 28 times. It's been used a lot. And if I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it. But if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
Preparing. I mean, we can report right now that the Pentagon has, again, authorized 2 Army battalions, but they're not going in yet. But they want to be ready, willing and able, of course. The act permits the president to use the military when state authorities request help because they cannot control violence or unrest, or, by the way, they don't want to do it themselves. Federal law cannot be enforced due to insurrection, rebellion, or widespread obstruction. Constitutional rights are being denied, and states refuse or fail to protect those rights. I want to reiterate what I've told you before, and that's that you do not need the cooperation of the state itself. So if Jacob Frey and Governor Walz say, take a hike, that's okay. Because you need to, as federal government law officers, actually enforce the federal law. And they're not allowing for it. They're impeding it, consistently impeding it. And that therein is the problem. Mayor Jacob Frey trying to say, hey, well, if you just get out, it'll all be fine. No. That's not okay, because again, I'm just going to say you have to allow for the federal government to be able to enforce the law. If you're not willing to do that, then sayonara. I'm sorry, Frey. I'm sorry, Walz. This is why you're getting sued right now.
If this were about order, there would be a simple way to restore it. And let me tell you a secret. It's not restored by additional federal agents. Order would be restored, and I will make this prediction, if those federal agents left. As soon as they leave, we will have peace, we will have safety, and order will be restored.
Oh, okay. But, that doesn't really matter, because there's one group that's supposed to ensure that we don't have people committing crimes and living illegally here in this country, and that would be ICE, and that would be the DHS. So you can say that all you want. It's kind of irrelevant. And this is why you're getting sued. And this is why the FBI is pursuing federal charges against those protesters that showed up at the church over the weekend. Quick shout out from my own company, 76 Research. The markets are closed today, but we've got a lot of good stuff going on, including the dive down in inflation, 2.7%. I like it. You know what? You had BlackRock saying the other day that it's more like 2%. So that's super interesting to me. Anyway, I put this on the screen just because inflation is something that is definitely coming down, and we're moving in the right direction. But don't tell CNN, right? They had a very different tune that they were singing back in, when was that? March 14th, 2023. Inflation is still high, they right? But it's falling. Woohoo! Last month's consumer price index measured 6% down from 6.4%. Woohoo! Okay. But then when Trump comes in and we're looking at January 13th, 2026, and it's at 2.7%, we still got persistent cost of living challenges. They're not going to celebrate that at all. But you know what? The economy's on fire. Get the Atlanta Fed predicting 5.4% GDP growth. I love it. Go to 76research.com. Ooh, did I misspell that? I did. Here's how you know we're in a live show. There we go. Okay, go to 76research.com, my company. You can get the 76 report with code word dollar. Go look at those model portfolios. I really encourage you. We get 3 of them right there.
Okay. That was the first one on there. So we got the one clip from last night's game. Then I got a 10-minute clip.
What's up, guys? Benny. It's not exactly a perfect or scientific show of support, but when President Trump is introduced to large crowds at stadium events, like national championship football events, you can just sort of tell where the people's hearts are. Like, listen to this. Donald Trump roundly cheered at the Super Bowl last year, not just from this angle, but also from the telecast. Right here, you can hear the delay. And the cheers, and you can also see it from the crowd right here. Roars, and so it is slightly different when they show Taylor Swift. The booze. You can see the booze. You can see the look on Taylor Swift's face saying, "What's going on?" according to the lip reading. Taylor Swift looking very nervous. The witch of the NFL. What's going on? She's literally there with Ice Spice, who's a real witch and an actual demon worshiper who wears pentagrams and satanic iconography to these games in order to affect the youth. Anyway, the point is that the evil is collapsing in our society and the good is rising. And that is a wonderful thing. It was on full display last night at the national championship game for college football. Touchdown in Miami. Trump enjoys night out with Ivanka and Kai. Football family playoff final gets a raucous reception from fans in Miami. Donald Trump beloved and cheered and sat up in a box with that giant bulletproof glass. A lot of A-listers there to watch Indiana win the national championship. President Trump there with his daughter and son-in-law, his grandchildren, daughter-in-law there, Laura Trump, and the whole family. Dana White was there, but listen to this reception that the president got. Really beautiful stuff here. There you go. It's a short clip, right? Because it's a national telecast, but you can hear the rowdy roars from the people there in Miami. Probably some Venezuelan refugees there, pretty happy that Trump just black-bagged their dictator, Donald Trump, walking in with his grandchildren into the event there with Dana White. And you can see Marco Rubio in the background as well. President Trump flexing his massive family that loves him. That is the greatest flex of all time, having kids who love you. President Trump's job approval, doing great in comparison to the last couple of presidents, Joe Biden, George W. Bush, Barack Obama. President Trump is beating all of them for his second term. But, you know, people want things to be better, right? You got right direction, wrong direction. President Trump has a 42% job approval, 55% disapproval. I have a feeling that's going to flip this year. I really, truly do. President Trump, when he sees the crowd, you can hear it. Listen to that. Listen to the cheers. Pretty great clip of Donald Trump that was taken throughout the evening. You see there, Jake Paul, his broken jaw inside of the glass. What if you bought a ticket to the national championship and you sat right next to Trump on the other side of the glass?
Can you grab this one?
He's there with Doug Burgum, Interior Secretary. There's Ron DeSantis. Nice to see. Dana White, obviously. The legend. Trump gets a couple I don't know, older dudes. I don't actually recognize that guy. But there's old guys. Trump having a great time sitting there.
Can you tap Trump on the shoulder? Tell him to turn around.
There you go. Okay. So Trump, a man of the people, there to enjoy.
Why not play your favorite slots or a lucky roll of the dice? Golden Nugget Online Casino.
The game and having a great time.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
See here, Trump waving with his full family. Again, what a flex. This is the flex. The flex is having all the kids, all of your kids and all your grandkids, your progeny there, having a family that loves you and wants to be with you, having the guys who ran against you in some pretty nasty races standing there next to you, right? Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump really went at each other. It's beautiful to see. The two of them are getting around. DeSantis maneuvering perfectly heading into 2028. Uh-oh. Well, here you go. Trump's already said he wants JD, but who knows? President Trump waving at the crowd. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was also at the game. Again, big-time Miami flex. Marco Rubio went to Miami. The game itself was newsworthy, as you have, here's Jake Paul, his broken jaw. Jake Paul with his broken jaw there at the game, showing President Trump his broken jaw. Kind of interesting. You have the major win here for Fernando Mendoza. I don't pretend to be a sports fan. I'm not here to tell you about Indiana's season. I know they have a perfect season. I know they had a Christ-centered season. Fernando Mendoza praying and giving himself the sign of the cross before the game. I really give a lot, and I have accomplished this season. I give my life to the Lord, he says. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's exactly what he said after the game itself. I give all of the glory to God.
You're leading by just 3 points, and coach decides to go for it on 4th down. What did he say to you in that huddle, and how did you execute it?
That's one thing about our team. We're always going to put all on the line. And, I want to give all the glory and thanks to God there. My offensive lineman blocked perfectly, and we're able to execute the team towards a common goal, have the Indiana Hoosier synergy to score, and then give our team a chance to win the game.
There you go. What an incredible
Thank
kid.
you guys. God bless.
Crying, breaking down, and telling everyone
I'm a Catholic. I'm a Catholic man.
At the end,
and they've done so much to help me, whether it's, confession or just, be able to talk or just mass every Sunday. So, I really give a lot that I have accomplished this season in my life to the Lord. I really give thanks to God. And for example, the Heisman, that's the first thing I said in the Heisman speech is give all the glory to God. Thank you so much to God. And so I think it was really important to take it over to those guys, especially those guys who've been great religious mentors to myself.
There you go. Even brought his priests down on the national championship field. We haven't seen that before. It's been a very Christ-centered college football season. There's been so many clips like this of men of faith, men of the cloth, on the field, of young players giving glory to their Lord and Creator. It is inspiring to see, not just the quarterback, but many members of the Indiana team there with the with these two. What's this? Friar Patrick Hyde. Okay, there you go. All right. Dominican priest, pastor at the University of Indiana Hoosiers. Look at that. Go Hoosiers. And they blessed the Heisman Trophy, the joy of being a Hoosiers. Brought the Heisman Trophy and they blessed it. Pretty cool. I'm a Catholic man. God is working in mysterious and exciting ways throughout the country. Exciting time to be alive. Enjoy it. You can do so right here by sharing, and subscribing.
Hey, Trump at the game last night. Now Tina Peters, another video. How you doing, Goofy? God, a long commercial.
simply preserving voter fraud evidence in Colorado. She actually got assaulted by a fellow inmate last night. And you won't believe who is the one getting in trouble. We have a video of this. Tina Peters is, what is she, 70 years old? The person who attacked her, much younger than her. And she is the one, Tina Peters is the one getting in trouble for this. She was put in solitary, according to reports. Colorado officials are now planning. This is what the buzz is. I don't know if it's official yet. I haven't seen anything officially, but apparently they're planning to charge Peters with assault for defending herself. That's correct. Let's get over here to this article. I want you to check this out. Video release of alleged assault by Tina Peters in Colorado prison. As of yet, no charges announced as investigation is ongoing. But if you take a look at this, it's actually Tina Peters who is getting in trouble. We have a video of this, a surveillance camera. Yesterday, former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters' ex account released a statement that alleged she had been attacked and defended herself in La Vista prison while moving a water unit into a closet. According to the statement, Peters was told that she would be charged with felony assault and locked down completely for 24 to 72 hours. And when you see this video, guys, this is absolutely insane. The woman who assaulted her is like half her age or more than half her age. She's 70 years old and she's minding her own business. And this woman comes along and it's kind of hard to see what happens, but it's very clear that this woman is the instigator. According to a statement emailed to Denver 7 from the prison, La Vista Correctional Facility does not utilize solitary confinement, conducting an investigation and moving one or more of the involved inmates to a different housing area. Pending the investigation is standard safety and security procedures for any incarcerated person involved in an incident pending investigation. The statement also said they could not confirm any additional charges as the internal investigation is being conducted. Released security footage showed the end of the altercation, but had no visibility of what took place inside the closet. In the video, Peters can be seen wheeling a large object into a closet with two other inmates visible but censored in the foreground and a few others walking around. As Peters walked into the closet wheeling the object inside, another inmate approaches the right of the closet opening, holding what appears to be a spray bottle. The inmate is allegedly 20 years old, so she's more than half. Tina Peters is 50 years older than this person. The inmate reaches into the closet with the view blocked by the door. The object is moved out of the way, and Peters is seen immediately moving towards the inmate, holding the inmate's right arm that reached inside the closet and her neck. So this is the video, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at this. So this is the incident that took place. And apparently it is, excuse me, apparently it is Tina Peters who is being charged, who is being punished, who is being put in solitary confinement, not the inmate who is 50 years younger than her, picking a fight with her. It is Tina Peters. This is what they do. They persecute these people. They persecute conservatives. They absolutely hate them. They have no respect for them. Tina Peters is a gold star mom. She deserves to be treated at least with some respect, but she absolutely is not. Why? Because she glimpsed into the belly of the beast and she refused to stand down. That's why. But take a look at this. So there's no sound in the video. That's Tina Peters right there. She's wheeling. What is that? What did they say? Some water crate or something. And that inmate that just went around her, she actually comes back. This is the inmate who attacks her. So Tina Peters right now is behind the crate, and she opens the door to the closet. And this is when this inmate comes back. I think that's the same one. And she has some in her hand, and Tina Peters comes out and grabs her wrist.
Finance the old way. Finance the ramp way.
We live for the moment. whether across the world or right across the table.
5 minutes.
Watching this, I feel it just saddens me the state of Tina Peters, man. Can you imagine being 70 years old, doing a great service to your country, and this is where you are at 70 years old, Gold Star mom, and you're caught right in the middle of a political battle. You have the governor of Colorado refusing to let you go. You have the attorney general taunting Donald Trump, refusing to let you go. It's very sad. Very, very sad. But ladies and gentlemen, that's what we got right there. Let's see. What else do we have? We have some other statements. We have a statement here from Lindell TV. Breaking: Tina Peters assaulted in prison last night. She was attacked by another inmate while filling a water unit inside a maintenance closet. Meanwhile, the inmate who attacked her, no charges. So she was shackled, thrown into solitary confinement, and told she's being charged with felony assault. So, guys, this is just upside down world we're dealing with here. Let me see. Let me do a quick search on Tina Peters and see if there's any update to this, because I know this came out yesterday. So the top tweets we see right now are the video. Brian Kennedy, that's from last year. Here we go. Laura Logan, it's increasingly obvious those responsible for putting Tina Peters behind bars to cover up their election crimes do not want her to survive. If President Trump doesn't move heaven and earth to intervene, and Tina dies, it will cost him dearly. The traitors know this. I mean, this is true. She links this. So this is the actual, I guess, press release from Tina Peters' team. Last night, Tina Peters was assaulted at approximately 9 p.m. Mountain Time in La Vista Correctional Facility. And then we read most of this already. Let's go down here. She was told she was being charged with felony assault for defending herself against an unprovoked attack. She will be locked down completely for 24 to 72 hours and held in IDO. So that's the whole. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. Kind of zoom out. So she will be held in IDO, the whole, for an unknown period of time. Yet the inmate who assaulted her, apparently nothing's happening to them. As far as Tina is aware, the inmate who assaulted her has not been charged, slept in their cell last night, and will face no consequences. This incident is clearly a targeted attack against Peters. In all likelihood, it is being used as an opportunity to isolate and harass Peters. Tina has been warning officials that something like this would happen eventually. She was advised to apply for the incentive pod. Tina has applied repeatedly and has been denied despite nothing disqualifying her. Tina has minor injuries, but is not seriously injured as of this morning. Can you imagine 70-year-old Tina Peters being charged another felony charge for defending herself? Please support Tina. And here is the whistleblower here. Tina Peters, whistleblower of fallen Navy SEAL, tweeting about this. She always has the newest updates here. This is one. Tina Peters is in no way. Apparently, there's some demonstration or protest going on in the prison. So that's the latest we have, ladies and gentlemen. Tina Peters looks like is being targeted.
Yep, Maria.
In prison in Colorado. 70-year-old woman. This could be you or me. This could be someone's grandma, you know. This could be your grandma. Decent woman. Stood for the truth. Still stands for the truth. And she got thrown into prison for it. She is a political prisoner, if there ever was one. And it's absolutely, it's a shame that she's in prison. She should be let out immediately. Donald Trump should do everything he can to help this woman. I mean, he should move heaven and earth. He should use federal dollars as leverage against Colorado to get her out. He's already pardoned her, but of course, these are state charges. And there's a little bit of a question about if that's true or not. If these actually are state or federal, because it was a federal election. But Donald Trump needs to do more to help this woman because she's in danger in this prison in Colorado. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of this down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, another good one update. Very important to share. Okay, we got 2 new ones, I believe, from Kennedy on TikTok. Did we play these ones already?
This can only be a liability to our country's greatness. Send them back from where they came. Somalia, perhaps the worst and most corrupt country on earth. January 14th, 2026. Tuesday morning, 9:30 a.m. sharp. Senate Judiciary Committee hearing room in the Dirksen Senate Office Building, 3rd floor, room 226. The room is packed. Beyond packed. Standing room only. Fire marshal would probably shut this down if he saw it. Every seat filled. Every inch of space occupied. Press gallery overflowing with reporters shoulder to shoulder. Photographers lining the back wall. Camera crews from every major network. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Even Al Jazeera sent a crew. C-SPAN has 3 cameras running. This is being broadcast live. Streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Millions watching already. Tens of millions by the end. This is the kind of hearing that makes careers, or ends them. Everyone in this room knows it. You can feel the electricity, the anticipation, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. The official title sounds boring, deliberately boring, bureaucratic. The kind of title designed to make normal people's eyes glaze over.
Remember this one?
Oversight hearing fraud and misuse of federal funds in Minnesota social service programs. Standard congressional jargon. Standard procedure. Nothing to see here, folks. But everyone in Washington knows what this really is. This isn't about programs. This isn't about oversight procedures. This is about Ilhan Omar, progressive icon, squad member, first Somali American in Congress. This is about the $1 billion. That's billion with a B. This is about corruption in Minneapolis, fraud in the Somali community, children going hungry while criminals got rich. This is about whether a sitting member of Congress not only enabled the largest welfare fraud in American history, but possibly profited from it. And everyone in this room knows that Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana has been waiting for this moment, preparing for it, building his case, organizing his evidence. That thick accordion folder sitting in front of him didn't appear overnight. That's weeks of work, maybe months. Every document color-coded, every piece of evidence cross-referenced, every question carefully crafted. Kennedy doesn't do anything halfway, never has. 40 years in Louisiana politics taught him that. 16 years as state treasurer taught him how to follow money, how to find fraud, how to build an airtight case. The word in Republican circles is simple. Kennedy has everything. Every document, every receipt, every contradiction, every lie. And he's about to unleash it all. Representative Ilhan Omar walks into the hearing room at 9:28, 2 minutes early. Always professional, always punctual. She knows how to play this game, been doing it for years. Confident stride, head high, shoulders back, the posture of someone who has nothing to hide, or someone very good at pretending. Navy blue hijab today, perfectly draped, professional pantsuit, dark blue, conservative by her standards. She's dressed for battle, dressed to look serious, credible, trustworthy. Squad members in the gallery stand immediately, applauding, making noise. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez front row. Rashida Tlaib beside her. Ayanna Pressley. Cori Bush. The whole progressive crew, showing solidarity, making a statement. Cameras swivel to catch them. The optics matter. Progressive women of color united against Republican attacks. That's the narrative they want. That's the story they're selling. Omar smiles. Big smile. Confident smile. The smile of someone who's been through this before and survived. Did she really marry?
Okay, part 2.
Plays to the cameras. This is her element. This is what she does. Progressive icon. Refugee turned congresswoman. Voice of the marginalized. Victim of Republican racism. She's testified before Congress dozens of times. Judiciary, oversight, foreign affairs. She knows the game, knows the tricks, knows how to handle hostile questioning. The playbook is simple, proven, effective. Deflect to Islamophobia when things get uncomfortable. Call them racist when they ask hard questions. Go viral on Twitter with clips of Republican attacks. Get sympathetic coverage from MSNBC. Rachel Maddow will defend her. Joy Reid will call it a witch hunt. The progressive media ecosystem will rally. Donations will pour in. She'll be more popular than ever. She's done this dance 100 times, survived 100 attacks, come out stronger every time. Why would today be different? She takes her seat at the witness table. Long table, polished wood. Microphone positioned perfectly in front of her. Green light showing it's live. Water glass to her right. Pitcher if she needs a refill. Her prepared statement sits in a folder to her left. 3 pages, single-spaced. Every word carefully chosen. Every phrase focus grouped. She'll read it during her opening. Set the narrative. Frame the debate. Make this about racism and Islamophobia before Republicans can make it about fraud and corruption. Her lawyer sits directly behind her, 3 feet back. White guy, expensive suit, Washington insider, partner at a major firm, specializes in congressional investigations. He's good, very good. He's gotten clients through worse than this. He'll pass notes if needed. Object to improper questions. Protect her from procedural traps. Chief of Staff sits to her left. Young woman, progressive, true believer, loyal to the end. She has backup documents, additional talking points, statistics and studies to counter Republican arguments. A whole briefcase full of ammunition. Omar is ready, prepared, confident. She glances at the Republican side of the dais, scanning faces, assessing threats. Most of them are standard Republicans, predictable. She's dealt with their type before. Cruz, Hawley, Cotton. They'll grandstand, make speeches, attack. But she can handle them. She always does. Then her eyes land on Senator Kennedy, 3rd seat from the right, Louisiana. He's arranging papers in front of him, not looking at her, just organizing, methodical, patient, careful. He has a folder in front of him, not a normal folder, an accordion folder, the kind lawyers use for complex cases, trials, investigations. It's thick, very thick, bulging with documents. She can see colored tabs sticking out, multiple colors, multiple sections, multiple categories. For just a second, a flicker of concern crosses her face. Just a micro expression. Gone in an instant. But it was there. Some instinct. Some warning bell. This might not be routine. But she pushes it down. Dismisses it. Kennedy, the country lawyer from Louisiana. The guy who talks like a character from a Mark Twain novel. Please. He's just another Southern Republican. Probably doesn't even understand the complexity of immigration policy or social service programs. Probably thinks all Somalis are the same. Probably sees her hijab and makes assumptions. Just another racist. Just another Islamophobe. She can handle him. Easy. What she doesn't know, what she can't know, is that Kennedy has spent 6 weeks preparing for this. 6 weeks going through documents, financial records, court filings, FEC reports, IRS data, immigration records, everything. His staff compiled it all, organized it, fact-checked every detail, cross-referenced every number. She waves to the squad, acknowledges the applause, plays to the cameras. This is her element. This is what she does. Progressive icon, refugee turned congresswoman, voice of the marginalized, victim of Republican racism. She's testified before Congress dozens of times. Judiciary.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I got a couple of short clips. They won't let me play it. I'll go on to my next videos.
Bannon, Peter Navarro, Donald J. Trump, Rudy Giuliani are just a couple of names that were arrested during the Biden administration. There have been 0 arrests with the January 6th insurrection. There have been 0 arrests with the auto pen situation. There have been 0 arrests with the Russia hoax collusion situation. There have been 0 arrests, 0 arrests, 0 arrests. And you guys sit and wonder why the Democrats keep doing what they're doing. You saw the video of them going inside the church. Did you see the entire video where they were shouting Renee Good's name and then the words, "Don't shoot me"? Did you also hear one protester scream out, "This is not the house of God, this is the house of the devil"? If they can burst into a church, what is keeping them from bursting into your home? They also went to a eatery place, a dinery, where a group of, I believe, men were sitting there. They were software tech guys sitting there waiting on their breakfast or their lunch. I can't remember which one. And because they thought they were ICE agents, they started harassing them. And it wasn't good enough that these guys said, "We're just trying to have our lunch. We have nothing to do with this." Well, if you're not against them, you're for them. This is where we're at. Minnesota, Minneapolis, it has fallen. It's gone. It's like Portland. What my thing is, or what my question is why have there been no arrest with all of the stuff that we all know happened? And yet all of Trump's associates and even Trump himself was arrested, harassed, terrorized for 4 straight years. Now, the Democrats have come out and said just recently, several of them, that when they take back the power, when they take back the presidency, when they take back the midterms, they said we have to go hard, meaning we are going to jail every Republican that they can find that they can get anything on. You think it was bad when they were after Donald Trump and they put Rudy Giuliani, the New York's mayor, in jail? You think that was bad? Wait until if they take over. Wait and see what happens. There's a Democratic, Claiborne, I believe is his name. He is a black Democratic that went on The View and had Whoopi Goldberg's full approval and her nodding the whole time, made a statement on The View that the GOP is actively working right now to undo the things that Abraham Lincoln did so that we can bring back slavery. That's what he said. Go look it up. It's easily Googled. And Whoopi Goldberg sitting there nodding her head. Just imagine for a minute, guys. Just imagine. We're going to flip everything, undo everything. And all of your black friends and all of these black business owners and all of your black associates and your neighbors, they about to be working in the fields again. We're going to start back picking cotton because we're going to say, screw these machines. And we're going to time warp. We're going to time warp back. That's what they're saying. Now, who is dumb enough to believe that? There are a lot of people dumb enough to believe that. I don't even know what to say anymore. Where are the arrests? And they better start arresting people now and putting a stop to this now before they end up taking over the midterms. Sorry it wasn't better news, guys, but that's all I've got tonight. Take care.
And she's good on TikTok. Short one.
This is Susan Bassey, and we take you back to San Jose, California, where we're investigating JAMS, one of the world's largest providers of arbitration, mediation, and private judging services that also operates a foundation that is training police officers and local governments how to avoid public transparency and accountability. And we're following cases specifically assigned from family court to retired judges and attorneys working with JAMS, because these cases are not being publicly noticed and the public is not being allowed to attend these hearings, which the law says we're entitled to do. And we're finding these problems the same at JAMS as we are with individual private judges like Jeff Blum in Los Gatos, who wasn't paying his business taxes as he was acting as a private judge and also a code enforcement hearing officer for the town. And when attorneys and retired judges aren't following the law, it's a problem. But if they're not paying their business license taxes, it's a problem we can address out of court.
So Jamie Jacobs May was Jane Doe 1's mediator, and Ruth Patrick of Women SB went in to that meeting. Elise Mitchell was also there. And at the same time, Jamie Jacobs May was appointed by the Judicial Council to be on the bar bench media committee that was statewide, but did not include police. And they were trying to talk about how to give better public access to court proceedings.
The issue of public access to court proceedings in California, as well as cameras in courts, has been highly debated in the state for over 3 decades, as we've put cameras on police officers and cameras on our homes and our businesses. Courthouses continue to see judges resisting cameras on them. And that's especially true in private judging, where individuals are paying retired judges to hear their cases either as arbitrators, mediators, or private judges. And we continue to press to ask for access to those proceedings, and also if the retired judges and attorneys engaged in these proceedings as for private compensation are paying their own business taxes.
This doesn't mean you're sitting here waiting for while these proceedings are going on. They're not getting public access to them. Hi. Are you Jamie Jacobs May?
Why?
I'm Susan Bassey. I'm a reporter, and I've been reporting on your appointment to the statewide bench bar media committee, and then your participation in the local one. And we're asking for public access to your proceedings.
I'm leaving right now. I'm gonna get someone to come out. I don't know what you're talking about, so hold on.
After being ignored for over an hour, we decided to leave, having been denied public access to private judge proceedings. Attorneys and retired judges making millions of dollars a year to do the job of a public court judge not only denied us public access, but we were unable to leave the building without their assistance as well, and had to go down 16 flights of stairs.
Carol, you mean Hillary's in the hospital?
Retired judges and attorneys who are engaged in private judging have been ignoring the law for years, and we continue to investigate how systemic the problem is. As cases are secreted, Cases not only involving private judge cases that come from family law, but also cases that involve arbitration and mediation involving the government, such as the state bar using jams to address their employee misconduct, or police officers using it in order to address police officers who've engaged in misconduct that often costs cities and taxpayers millions of dollars when they get caught in a lawsuit.
So we just went to get public access to private judge proceedings at JAMS. They didn't want to give it to us. They were scrambling around like they always do. There were cases posted. They were ongoing with Judge Zucker, Judge Jamie Jacobs-May, and there was another one too that I reckon. Oh, Judge Lucas was doing those proceedings. They weren't following the law, and the elevators didn't work, and we had to go from the 16th floor all the way down the stairs and through this Hitler-esque looking bunker area to exit into this urine-infested alleyway. This is back alley private judging.
So we continue our investigation and show you how it impacts those who are involved in litigation and taxpayers who have to pay when public court judges, police officers, and attorneys don't follow the law or do their job.
Talk about money laundering, talk about all the other things going on with private judging. No public access, jam.
Okay, judges there. I'm going to do 2 cast videos.
This home,
one
family
build
living
at
there
a
says
time.
they terrorized his 5-year-old grandson and never asked for IDs before
Ah.
pulling him out in his underwear into the bitter cold, releasing him an hour later.
Well, that's their side of the
says
story.
The man, a U.S. citizen, lived with 2 they are looking for, but his family disputes that, saying he only lives with relatives and they don't know
Well,
either
then those
of
are
the
his
alleged
relatives.
suspects. And new this morning, allegations that some detained by ICE were denied access to legal counsel, including protester William Vermi, a U.S. citizen, seen here being arrested after filming ICE officers near his house.
Okay, whenever somebody does something like this, it's always because they're getting in the faces of federal agents. Meanwhile, we're learning that fraud in this country is a nationwide problem at this point.
Yeah, but isn't this a daycare? That's me trying to enroll my baby into 40 daycares across Columbus, Ohio. That received over $42 million from government programs designed to feed kids from 2017 to 2025. It turned
That's
out they
crazy.
were claiming to feed far more meals than they actually provided. And this little office is the only address that could ever be found. Were these 40 daycares that received money from this nonprofit legit, or are they shell businesses operating as a front? Wow, this building is complete trash. Hello, I'm a 1-year-old. I'm just trying to get an application. Like, what's the deal with boarding up windows?
It's not boarded up. It's tinted because
That's a daycare? That's not a daycare. That's like a building that you can't even set foot in.
Okay, definitely tons of kids there. I'm trying to get some childcare.
Wow.
Not even a hello, how are you? An empty building?
Where's the
with a bunch of
kids?
trash bags? In 2 minutes of me knocking, someone came and just dropped off a bunch of kids, and that was that. Next up, Al Shafiqi. Let's see
So,
if they've said it.
Tyler Oliveira's video here makes it look like there's some sort of cover-up going on in Ohio as well.
I don't know if anyone's here. The place appears to be fully empty.
Whoa!
Hello? Does it look like a daycare? No, looks like a small prison complex.
They all kind of look
What
like
are your
that
thoughts
for
on the
some
fraudsters
reason.
that are out there?
I feel like anybody that's doing that actually be punished for it.
Sunrise Child Care and Learning Center. He dropped in, brand new interior, super nice.
Wow.
Honestly. Okay, you guys following me?
So some of these might be legit.
I am not even checking your hat. I do see that you are reporting here.
What are you talking about? You're a highly reviewed daycare. I'm trying to get some child care for the kid.
If you want it,
Yeah.
you shouldn't come and take a picture.
No, I was knocking. What is this? What is this? You want to fall in?
Yes, that's not your damn
Whoa.
business.
Why are you
Place is
doing
falling
24/7
apart.
surveillance though?
Let me see your.
I'm not gonna give you my ID. You give me your ID.
What is it?
I was born and raised in America. What are you talking about?
I'm so mad.
I'm trying to get daycare for my kid. I don't know what you're talking.
This is insane. Just the level of confrontation. No place that's legit has a problem with a camera.
About.
It's a problem.
Oh, the police are there.
Yes.
Have a great day. I literally can't. You don't understand the First Amendment. I'm on the sidewalk. You're making this worse. Go there and just help the kids, man.
Wow.
If you're such a good guy.
How many of these are there?
Look at the front gate, man. Would I ever bring my kid here? No. This area is surrounded by
nice place.
Together, basically. There is a playground. Would never bring my child here. I've called the phone number.
Crazy.
Nobody answered. Let's see if we can knock on the door. Hey there.
That's
You guys
the
have,
door.
Like an application or something?
It's not.
Okay. And now if I just fill this out, I can bring it back today?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're being helpful. There's people here.
With cash, US dollars?
It sure seems like this is not isolated to just one state.
Welcome back. We are turning now to the Big Apple, where
Oh,
new
New York City.
multi-million-dollar fraud schemes are coming to light. Just this week, 2 scammers pleading
Wow.
guilty to a $68 million fraud scheme tied to the state's Medicaid home care program.
Adult daycare center. It's like no matter where in the country these programs exist, they just get robbed by criminals.
While New York's consumer-directed personal assistance program is meant to make things easier for loved ones who need care, fraud is nothing new. Back in 2018, a man arranged for friends and family members to be paid as home caregivers for his sick mom.
That's exactly
Later,
what it is.
investigators found out that his mom wasn't even in the country. She was living in Bangladesh.
Wow.
And during home inspections, his brother impersonated her to keep the fraud going.
His brother
Back in
impersonated his
2024, Governor
mother.
Kathy Hochul calling CDPAP a, quote, racket
Okay.
and one of the most abused
But why
programs
doesn't
in
she
the
shut it
entire
down?
history of the state of New York. News
So
Nation
shut it down.
reached out to the governor's office for comment on the recent fraud charges, and a spokesperson for the governor tells me she has, quote, taken steps to fix the system by cutting out hundreds of middlemen.
I don't know how you can have these types of programs without an army of auditors to check up on these programs and make sure that people aren't scamming the system.
In Minnesota, we saw the Quality Leering Center.
Yes, the
and
Leering
after
Center.
your video was published, a
That was the
manager said
first
there was
one.
no fraud going on whatsoever. What is your response to that kind of denial based on what you saw?
Yeah, everyone says
Well,
they're
at the
innocent.
exact same time when he's telling that group of people with a camera, the commissioner of children is on a live stream saying that building was closed a week ago. He got caught lying, and now it has been officially been shut down once again.
It preceded the governor's decision, Governor Walz, to abandon his reelection plans.
Yeah, he dropped out.
But do you think there'll be any accountability, though, for him? Do you think that he knew more about this, given his decision to leave the governor's race, so much so that it would impact
Look
his
at this.
ability to get reelected?
Tim Walz has been talking about getting rid of fraud since 2019. So to think that he didn't know about it happening from 2019 to 2016, it's impossible.
It's
Literally
impossible.
Impossible.
Okay. Well, some of your questions some of the people you question in your videos have accused you of targeting them for their ethnicity or religion. Let's take a listen.
Yeah,
So you
that's
don't
the
want
big
us to
controversy.
Change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims
What's
in
this
this
guy
country
talking
anymore.
about? This has nothing to do with fraud.
No.
We're not
Because
saying that.
When I go
Sir,
into
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud.
This is the ED. It's not for the faint of heart.
Welcome back. Who else is going to get this place through the 4th of July?
Right.
When you're going around doing your reporting,
And that's how these scammers who are engaged in fraud intimidate elected representatives. Now, I don't think for a second that Tim Walz didn't know about any of this and wasn't okay with it, because he very well may have benefited politically from this. But these scammers, what they do is they say, hey, Governor Hochul in New York, if you don't want to fix the system, if you want to shut it down, well, you're actually attacking our community, and our community is going to be really upset. And that kind of thing can scare politicians. The New York thing is very new. The Minnesota thing, on the other hand, it's the biggest in the country, and it's allegedly been like that for over a decade.
Yeah, I learned about the fraud, for instance, in Minnesota back in June because a lot of locals were telling me about it when I was there.
That's so
And
crazy.
The way that we're targeting the fraud in Minnesota is simply by going to the state of Minnesota website and going to the locations of these
It's all
places.
public information.
It just so happens to be that the majority of them, actually all of them that we have been to, are Somalians. And when it comes down to them being charged, and the people that have been charged for committing fraud inside of Minnesota, 89% of them are Somalians. And so that's just a fact of the matter about what's happening inside Minnesota.
It's not a deliberate
Seems like a way
thing.
to distract away from what you're actually finding and seeing there.
Right.
But we're learning that this is not just a daycare problem.
No.
News Nation's Rich McHugh has reported on millions of dollars paid to assisted living facilities owned by a man under indictment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In another
That's
money
happening.
laundering scheme. So why do you think it is that Minnesota hasn't been able to limit the opportunities to defraud taxpayers of
They don't want to.
millions, if not billions of dollars?
They don't want to. And there are politicians who benefit from these schemes existing. If there's a politician and they pass a law that allows scammers to set up these home care things or these fraud compounds in a place that looks like a residence and is impossible to audit because they live there with their immediate family and the place is a daycare and their kids have a playroom, there are scammers who want politicians to set up programs like that.
It's also become the target of sophisticated scammers.
The actual program itself is for a good cause.
Yeah,
but
they all
you have bad people out there who are taking advantage of federal and state money.
Maybe it's a bad program.
Just this past week, 2 New Yorkers pled guilty to a $68 million fraud scheme tied to CDPAP, billing Medicaid for services at Brooklyn-based adult daycares that never actually happened. These fraudsters were, quote, large-scale recruiters who bribed patients with laundered cash and billed Medicaid over $68 million for services that were not provided. New York Attorney General Letitia James announcing a separate $1 million-plus conviction this week, also involving fake billing and kickback schemes tied to the state's Medicaid program. Unfortunately for the state.
And this is a transportation company. So we've got the fake daycares, and then we got the transportation companies that are supposed to drive around all the fake patients. It's like there is nobody checking in on any of this stuff. But the thing that's really sad is how these armies of rioters are now taking to the streets in these sanctuaries where these schemes are being uncovered, fighting to get rid of the people that will actually shut them down.
It's been a riot since day one, Charlie. I mean, out here, they've been trying to cover it up. The legacy media in particular, they don't want to show what's actually going on out here. I have to do this live shot from several blocks away. You can see the police lights in the distance, but I can't go over there anymore because I will be attacked, even with police lights over there. That is not a protest. My presence as an independent journalist there does not make me an agitator, but they don't like the fact that we're over there inside of it with our cameras, recording what is actually going on and exposing this as a riot. Waltz and Fry have not been able to cover this up, and we're not going to let them.
Right, and that's the thing. They want to cover up everything going on here. They want to cover up the fraud scandals, and now that there's independent journalists that are out on the streets looking into this stuff, getting attacked, having their cameras and their possessions stolen, they want to cover that up too. It's all a big game to get rid of law enforcement so these scams can continue and so people can escape accountability.
So, we showed a clip of you getting your camera stolen from you.
Terrible.
But there's another part of that we didn't get to show that I think is a pretty galling moment.
So crazy. That's dangerous.
Where after you speak to the police, you call the police come.
Yeah, he called the cops.
What did the police tell you?
Yeah, this is where it gets really scary.
They told me that I was the person that needed to leave, that I needed to get out of this area. I'm an American citizen, born and bred here, that is being told that I'm not allowed to be in an American city. And if that's not alarming to people, I don't know what could possibly be.
The fact that someone's getting robbed on the street in a drive-by snatch and grab like this, and the police say that the person who drove their car on the sidewalk isn't at fault because the person who got robbed, the victim, is being blamed for this whole thing because since they're a journalist, they must be antagonizing people. That's just ridiculous. But that goes to show you in these sanctuary cities, you got a sanctuary police force. And who do they answer to? They answer to the mob and the mayor.
The fact that the thing that I did that they didn't like was that I was there with a camera. I didn't get out of my vehicle.
That's not a crime.
I was recording from inside the vehicle when I ended up getting robbed. But according to the police out there, a felony robbery is not enough for them to go after the perpetrator. I'm the
even
one
though they
that
have a
had to
plate
end up
number,
leaving the area. And that's a quote. They said, "You need to leave."
That's so crazy.
It's crazy to me that this is the point that we're at.
There's no law
we're
here.
on our own out here, and we have to take our cities back.
Right.
We cannot allow no-go zones to be set up in otherwise, beautiful states like this. And Tim Waltz and Mayor Fry are willing to do it.
And if the police refuse to intervene when there's a crime, that area becomes a no-go zone for potential victims. And who are those people? Those are people who disagree with the fact that these mobs are out on the streets rallying to protect fugitives and scammers.
Something that we saw in St. Paul, nearby to Minneapolis.
Oh, what's going on
just
here?
Within the last 24 hours or so, where federal agents said that they were on an operation to track down 2 convicted that lived in that area.
Wonderful.
Unfortunately, they were met by other people that live in that neighborhood and in the Twin
That's so
Cities,
stupid.
honking their horns and trying to warn the neighbors
Why?
about ISIS presence.
awful.
Take a look.
Your house is wasting electricity right now, and here's the proof. My electricity bill dropped from $153 to $50.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest. That's who you guys are protecting.
That's crazy. They'll protect the worst of the worst.
Okay, we
because
just
they don't
learned,
like ICE.
however, that instead
this was
of the 2 convicted being pulled from that actual
This is
house,
this raid.
instead it was an American citizen who actually lived with them. That's the reason why Tricia McLaughlin says that those 2 that they were originally after are now considered at large.
wow.
On top of that, we're also seeing increased demonstrations all across the city, including in houses of worship, where some 40 demonstrators actually get.
You know what's so crazy? The people that went to this church and raided this church, they were all upset about ICE being in their community. They're making a big deal about ICE being in their community. But the problem is because this is a sanctuary city that releases fugitives who aren't supposed to be in the country. They're here illegally. They've committed heinous crimes, lets them go live in apartments. ICE has no choice but to go looking for them in apartments. ICE doesn't want to go raid an apartment looking for somebody. They don't want to go to some fraud compound and clear the place out because the people in the fraud compound that ICE is looking for, they were probably in jail at one point. These are criminals, after all, that are on ICE's radar with rap sheets. If these sanctuaries would just turn people over to ICE, nobody would have to go to any community. None of this would be happening, and the protesters would get the very thing they say they want, which is for ICE not to be there.
Pentagon has ordered 1,500 combat troops to prepare to deploy to Minneapolis in response to anti-ICE protests.
That's
The news
crazy.
Coming, as sources tell NBC News, the FBI is asking agents to voluntarily travel to the Twin Cities for temporary assignments.
Oh, they're doing a
Anti-ICE
surge too, huh?
demonstrations, meanwhile, show no signs of letting
The
up.
mobs don't
And
want
the
that,
Justice
but they
Department is now
won't stop
vowing
people
to
from going into
investigate
churches.
protesters who disrupted a service yesterday at a church where they believed a top ICE official serves as a pastor. Officials familiar with the matter also tell NBC News that the DOJ is investigating whether Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry conspired to impede federal.
It looks like they have, because a lot of their comments have done nothing but incite insurrection. And there's evidence that their offices may have coordinated with various protest groups. That's the allegation anyway. And that's why there's now this investigation.
And obviously it would be deeply concerning if the federal government is targeting someone for a product that is quite literally my job. It is my responsibility to speak on behalf of Minneapolis
No, it's your
residents.
responsibility
It's my
not to
responsibility
encourage
to do
lawlessness.
everything possible to keep our city safe. And so while I haven't received a subpoena or anything else at this point, this should be deeply concerning, not just for Minneapolis, but for anybody out there. I mean, this is stuff that happens in other countries. It shouldn't happen in America.
You're in a sanctuary
NBC News
city.
correspondent Maggie Vespa is.
This is so ridiculous. These sanctuary mayors, they want zero accountability for any of what's going on.
John, before we get to that, I want to get to the breaking news we have just heard. The FBI has apparently just served subpoenas to several officials here in Minneapolis, including members of the office of Governor Tim Walz.
So
We
there
will,
may be consequences.
Bring you more information as we get it on those subpoenas.
Subpoenas.
Meantime, the number of protesters out here at the federal building is diminishing every day, it seems. But the war of words between local officials and the Trump administration is only getting stronger. The latest flashpoint, as you mentioned, that protest at a St. Paul church on Sunday,
Such a
during
ridiculous
which several dozen
protest.
protesters disrupted the service, screaming at members of the congregation
terrible.
and screaming anti-ICE slogans.
The church has nothing to do with
In the
ICE.
meantime, the president himself is urging DHS to make a lot more of the number of criminals that are being arrested during.
Look at this protest. They've got a flag from another country. They're outside an ICE detention center, and these people just continue pushing law enforcement. It's the mobs that need consequences too, not just the elected officials, or this is going to keep happening.
Operation Metro Surge. The president saying on Truth Social, quote, show the numbers, names, and faces of the violent criminals and show them now. The people will start supporting the patriots of ICE instead of the highly paid troublemakers, anarchists, and agitators. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said on X, quote, stop terrorizing people with your fake PR about criminals in Minneapolis, because the only people on the streets of Minneapolis you are arresting are law-abiding citizens.
That's impossible. That is such a lie. These people that are getting arrested by ICE, who might be a U.S. citizen, how did they get arrested by ICE? ICE isn't even looking for you. If you're a U.S. citizen, you got to do something special to get arrested by immigration enforcement. If you're in the United States legally and you are a citizen here, you got to go out of your way to interject yourself in a situation that doesn't even involve you to wind up in handcuffs. And they have found people who are here in the country illegally. Look at this. This is Minnesota right here. Got a fraudster and he's a gang member. Look at that. Look at this guy. Shahal Osman. I'm not going to get his name right, but he's a criminal. He's arrested. Oh, yeah. No criminals in Minnesota. Come on. You literally have to come out and lie to the American people if you're going to be against getting folks like this off the street. That's what I happen to think. What do you think? I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, we'll just do one cash. I got Julie Green I'm going to play 5 minutes. Today's Julie Green on TikTok.
Are going to happen. You need to prepare your heart and just know you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You should know that. Read that scripture, Philippians 4 and 13. A lot if you have to, but Philippians 4 and 13.
Yes, boss.
Now, I'm going to get this prophetic word, and this was called the debt clock will be shut down.
Hey.
My children, the giants are falling. Oh, sorry. This was the second word I heard on January 10th. The second word I heard on January 10th, the debt clock will be shut down. Now, again, I told you guys before, some of these are not going to be in order because yesterday's was the 17th. This is the 10th. God had me give that prophetic word out yesterday. I had to give that out. It's very timely, the reason why that had to be given out at that particular point. I could not wait. So sometimes I go in order, he has me do it, and sometimes I have to change it up when he wants something out on a specific day. So I did have to do that. So this is from January 10th, the second one. My children, the giants are falling. Every large corporation, every large bank, every news station that's against me in this nation, every government who are a part of the dark financial system that is about to collapse and completely be annihilated. Bank of America will collapse. JP Morgan Chase will collapse. Wells Fargo will collapse. Goldman Sachs will collapse, and so will Citibank. These banks have been connected to Wall Street and the deep state in this nation. They've all manipulated the markets in their favor, and they all work hand in hand with the Federal Reserve so they can legally get more money through interest rates, and it helps them funnel more funny money where they need it to go. The banks will collapse, and all the debt owed will vanish. This is not too good to be true. It's part of the great exodus. I do care about forgiveness of debts and debt cancellation. If I didn't, I would not have mentioned this in my word on multiple occasions. The banks must pay for damages, and so does the American government for using your taxpayer dollars for their own gain, including their own corporations, dummy companies, nonprofit organizations that do not exist. Explosive reports will find trillions of tax dollars have gone to them. And these banks, these fake corporations, these nonprofits is all gone to pay politicians under the table. It's gone to pay illegals, to pay for votes. It's gone for terrorist attacks and wars, child trafficking, drug smuggling, you name it. I will say this again, lie after lie, fraud after fraud will be exposed. Something unprecedented is about to take place in the IRS. Breaking news reports will come out one right after another, proving fraud, proving the establishment has used these as a weapon against the American people. The IRS will come down quicker than most think, and it's about to fall at the walls of Jericho. I am crushing all the honey holes of your enemies, says the Lord. Credit card companies will be caught in massive fraud. My children, these giants will also begin to fall for the crimes they have committed, the ties to your politicians and terrorists. Watch what comes out on Capital One. Secret after secret, crime after crime, fraud after fraud will tear credit card companies apart. Watch Silicon Valley. It's about to take place it's about to take a hit in an unprecedented way. Silicon Valley, watch it be hit. Sorry, I'll say this again. Watch Silicon Valley. It's about to take a hit in an unprecedented way. I'll get that right. Microsoft is about to be in your news again. You will hear of more crashes, and this needs to happen because of what Microsoft was doing, that the establishment paid them to do against you. Oh, my United States. All will be revealed, exposed, and stopped. Bill Gates will step down, and you will see him arrested. All the farm ground he owns will also be seized, along with many of his offshore accounts will be linked to in a major way to Epstein in a child trafficking world. Everyone connected to Epstein will be exposed and arrested for every crime they committed. The Federal Reserve will shut its doors, never to open again. They are being dismantled as I speak. Many arrests are being made, even though you may not see it now. Guantanamo secrets will soon come out after martial law takes place. So many in your government and banks and high-powered positions have been in front of tribunal judges, and many have already been judged. When the time is right, the world will be informed how much has truly happened when the world has been unaware. My children, keep standing and pray as I bring down the world system. Start to celebrate when silver hits over 100 an ounce. You will see it continue to skyrocket when you hear the United States is fully backed by gold and the debt clock turned off. All that debt will be wiped out. The globalists lied about it. Then also more will strike gold here in the U.S. More will strike oil. This nation is filled with great natural resources that will not only sustain this country, but the world. The banking system is changing. It's time to pray for the ones who are not awake. Do not fear when you see giants fall and their system dismantled. I am bringing a new one in that your enemies cannot control, says the Lord of hosts. Now again, God has been saying these things. He's been saying these things in greater detail and with greater force, I feel like in this spirit when I'm hearing these prophetic words and also giving them out. Our enemy's banking system has to collapse. There is not if it may keep going, or we can keep moving on and just having it shift into our hands. No, this system has to collapse, period. And then God will put a new one in, because this one is so dark, it's so evil, and it's so disgusting that it has to be completely dismantled. He said, not the way you should suppose. So thank.
Okay, that was today's, I think it was today's Julie Green. I haven't played her in a while. I'll say that to you before for the last one.
Make enemies, but not to make friends, but to do what I think my people want me to do, and that's what I try to do. I also think that when I've got a few minutes to talk to the American people, I want to speak plainly and frankly, because most Americans they don't read Aristotle every day. They don't have time. They're earning a living. They get up every day, they go to work, they obey the law, they pay their taxes, they try to do the right thing by their kids. So when they've got a few minutes to listen to the news, I want to give them the straight scoop. And that's what I try to do. And some like it and some don't. People, my friends ask me all the time, they say, how do you sleep at night knowing that some people don't like you? And I tell them the truth with the fan on. You can't make everybody happy in this business.
Indeed, indeed. I also, one of the things that I like about you a lot, not only the sense of humor and that, yeah, you just have sort of an everyman quality about you, is that your political journey. I mean, you were a Democrat also. I was obviously a Democrat. You defected a little bit earlier than me. What was it about the Democrat Party back then, and this is sort of early-ish 2000s, that you saw happening that forced you to leave and become a Republican?
Well, everybody in Louisiana was a Democrat, mostly a conservative Democrat until 2004, 2005, something like that. My first job in government was in state government, and I worked for a Republican governor. So party wasn't that big a deal. But gradually, the foolishness from the national party seeped in to the Louisiana Democratic Party. And the Louisiana Democratic Party, like the National Party, took a hard left and kept driving. And I just reached the point where I was the state treasurer. All of my legislation was being handled by Republicans, even though I was a Democrat. And my Democratic colleagues didn't like me because I wouldn't toe the line. So I said, okay, no mas, I quit.
So when people hear you say conservative Democrat, those things come off these days as completely antithetical. But what you're talking about, in essence, is sort of what we used to call blue dog Democrats, I guess. Or so what do you think happened to the party itself? Because now it clearly now there's just virtually no moderate Democrat left. I always point to John Fetterman as kind of the last man standing. But what do you think really happened there?
Well, the parties change constantly. And over a period of, not to necessarily make friends, I don't try to make enemies, but not to make friends, but to do what I think my people want me to do. And that's.
That was a short one on Kennedy again. Short, Vinny.
Against some of these major criminals. Can you explain that? I mean, I think that would really stick. A lot of people would say, wow, the Trump administration is really serious if they start denaturalizing people in this country.
Yeah, under U.S. law, if you procure citizenship or a visa, a green card on fraudulent grounds, that is basis for denaturalization or removal of that visa or green card. So, of course, President Trump has directed the Department of Homeland Security. We're doing a massive scale audit on these countries of concern, Somalia being among them. And so we're looking at how are these citizenship procured? How are these visas procured? We know that the past administration, basic mechanisms were not being done, basic checks were not being done. And so we did see wide-scale fraud. We did see wide-scale abuse of our legal immigration system. And so it's really incumbent upon us to go back, see how this was procured. And if that means denaturalization, that's a route that's certainly on the table.
Okay. What is the legal process there? I mean, a lot of people say that Ilhan Omar engaged in immigration fraud as well. I mean, the White House is out posting articles about it. What you're saying is that if somebody like Ilhan Omar was engaged in immigration fraud, that they could have their American citizenship stripped away, and there's a legal process for that.
Oh, absolutely. That's under U.S. law. If they have procured their citizenship, this could be anyone, including Ilhan Omar, on a fraudulent grounds, that could be revoked.
Do you have success in those actions? I mean, we've read the New York Times piece. We've seen some of the build up to this. We've seen the messaging on it. But are you seeing actual success? I know that this is a legal process, right?
Absolutely. This is a case-by-case basis, a legal process. This is something that President Trump has been very focused on. Secretary Noem has been incredibly focused on. But I do, Benny, if you wouldn't mind, I want to back up to also what we're seeing on the ground as far as some of these suspected fraudsters. What we're seeing, and I think that there has been some coverage of it actually from you all, is that these people are really scrambling to cover up their tracks and trying to create the illusion that there are legitimate business operations and business practices going on when it's all a fugazi. So that's something that I think we're going to see more and more of, and those viewers watching should be aware of. But our Homeland Security investigators, our FBI, and other law enforcement on the ground are also aware that this is going on, and they're not going to be, rules not going to be pulled over their eyes.
DHS came out and said,
okay, another mini video. Time for Nick. Nine minutes.
Democrat that the world has ever seen is in Davos, Switzerland right now, enjoying the luxuries of champagne socialism, brushing arms with powerful people in pursuit of more power for himself and fellow Democrats. He just openly admitted that Trump is dominating the world and gave the biggest series of backhanded compliments to Trump, effectively saying that Trump's foreign policy is working and world leaders are bowing down and kissing the ring left and right. And he thinks that's a bad thing because he hates America. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to show this to you guys. He literally just openly admitted that Trump is dominating the world.
Do you have a message for Europeans who are concerned about the messages from the White House around Greenland this week?
Yeah, it's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides. Say one thing on a text or a tweet, another publicly. It's time to have principles. It's time to stand tall and strong. Does that mean it's time to stand united?
He's calling on European leaders to stand tall and united against us, against his own country. What a freaking traitor.
You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
But when you say standing tall, what do you mean?
Just I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders.
He used the same joke on Ron DeSantis, sending him a pair of knee pads, talking about how he's basically giving fellatio to Trump. He can't stand that world leaders are showing respect to Trump and his tariffs are working and his America First policies are working, that our enemies and even our allies respect us. He cannot stand it. Newsom is mad because Trump's foreign policy is effective.
Handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes, they are being given away. It's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. At least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
So what should Europe be doing?
You should decide, the Europeans should decide for themselves what to do. But one thing they can't do is what they've been doing. And they've been playing. This guy's playing folks for fools. And it's embarrassing.
Europeans think this is diplomacy and this will ultimately
this is
work.
Diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other.
And Europe's being
people need to stand. No, the Europeans could be if they continue down this path and process. They need to stand tall, stand firm, stand united.
So whether he realizes it or not, he just gave Trump like the biggest compliment that he possibly could have given. He's saying Trump is effective in his foreign policy and other leaders are bowing down and kissing the ring and kissing his ass. He called Trump a T-Rex. Like that's the best compliment you could get. That's the coolest dinosaur. And I want the president to be like a dinosaur. I want the world to respect us. Apparently, Gavin Newsom would rather us have Joe Biden in charge, who's apologizing for everything that we do, letting us get screwed over in every single deal, just giving billions and billions of dollars away to the third world and letting us get, taken advantage of. That's the difference between Trump and Biden. Trump is actually respected around the world. He puts America first and he gets things done through pressure, through leverage, through threats of force and threats of violence. And guess what? It works. I can't for the life of me understand why a governor of a state in the United States of America wouldn't want to see us pursue our own national security and and our own self-interest. But of course, Gavin Newsom's real big gripe with Trump is that he's cutting into his piggy bank. Right now, he's under investigation every which way from Sunday for all the fraud, waste, and abuse in the state of California. And he's probably going to be running against J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio in 2028. So by default, he has to oppose Trump's foreign policy. But unfortunately, the record is what it is. You know, Trump's talking about taking Greenland. All these European leaders stand up and start talking tough. Then Trump says, boom, 10% tariffs on Denmark, Germany, Finland. Anybody who wants to talk trash, that's 25% tariffs. If anyone else wants to chime in. And then the next day, you know, Germany's pulling their 16 troops out of Greenland. And all of a sudden, Keir Starmer, now he wants to talk about having a calm discussion about Greenland. And everybody's just bowing down. We're taking Panama, we're taking Venezuela, we're taking Greenland, and all these whiny NATO countries that talk tough. Everybody eventually kisses the ring when they realize that Trump holds all the cards. And Gavin Newsom can't stand that Trump knows how to command respect from the rest of the world. And that's why Gavin Newsom, the globalist bastard that he is spending his time at Davos advocating for all these other countries that are getting pushed around and bullied by big bad T-Rex Donald Trump. Now, Trump is also at Davos, and he's going to be giving the keynote speech tomorrow. And he is in Switzerland for the first time since 2020, and he's got the crew with him. He's got the biggest U.S. delegation that's ever been brought to Davos at the World Economic Forum. And he's got Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's got Scott Bessent. He's got everybody, and he's going to be giving a very powerful speech tomorrow. Now, what's really interesting here is we've got this cryptic tweet from Stephen Miller, which hasn't come to fruition yet. I don't think anybody really knows what he was talking about, but coincidentally, Davos is January 19th through 23, and Stephen Miller on January 10th said, in 10 days, justice will be restored fully and absolutely. And people are saying that there's a suggestion that Trump is moving to the Davos meeting with conditions of surrender for the globalist elites. So I don't know what the hell this is about, but people are saying Trump's going to be giving the terms of surrender for the New World Order and the globalist bastards at Davos. And I'm very excited to see what he actually does here. One thing's for sure, he's most definitely going to be talking about Greenland tomorrow and speaking specifically to these European leaders that are pushing back on tariffs and his threats. He's definitely going to be talking about housing and affordability because he already said that he's going to be discussing that. As we know, he just put forth a policy to kick out institutional investors from buying single-family homes. And, you know, Blackstone CEO is going to be sitting in the audience as he's talking about how that's going to be a new policy, and he's going to expand on that. We know that he's definitely going to be coming for the globalists, and he's basically just going to be dropping the hammer on the globalists, talking about his America First policies and the future of U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere. And I want to show you guys this clip of the first time Trump ever spoke at Davos, where he told the globalists right to their face that he rejects their totalitarian globalist climate change agenda to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. This is what he did at Davos, the very first time he ever spoke in 2020.
Possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom. To embrace.
So that's what he said straight to the faces of the architects and cultists of the climate change agenda. And so this time, I think it's going to be very interesting, and we're not going to miss it. We're going to cover it, of course, on this channel. So be sure to like the video and subscribe. If you never want to miss another update, turn those bell notifications on. And if you want to save a ton of money at MyPillow.com, go to MyPillow.com/Nick. You can save a ton.
Okay, that was the first one. I got a second one. I don't think I'm gonna show the speech tomorrow because that's a lot of work out of me doing two shows and everything. Can't do 2 shows all the time. So, but if something breaks, if something big happens, I'll come on.
Stories on radio would not work.
Ladies and gentlemen, is official. This just in, the FBI has officially just slammed subpoenas on radical left-wing hacks Tim Walz and Jacob Frey for their treasonous plot to sabotage ICE and shield and protect illegal alien criminals in the state of Minnesota.
Get to that, I want to get to the breaking news we have just heard. The FBI has apparently just served subpoenas to several officials here in Minneapolis, including members of the office of Governor Tim Walz. We will bring you more information as we get it on those subpoenas. Meantime, the number of protesters out here at the federal building is diminishing every day.
So the FBI is actually moving in on this investigation, which was recently opened on Tim Walz, Jacob Frey. Most likely, Keith Ellison, the attorney general in the state, is also being hit with a subpoena. And this relates to the recent investigation that's been opened into whether or not these guys conspired to impede or injure law enforcement officials. This ties to 18 U.S. Code 372, which criminalizes conspiracies by 2 or more people to prevent federal officers from discharging their duties through force, intimidation, or threats. Now, they're not executing a search warrant, and this is something I have a bit of a problem with. This is a subpoena. So they're essentially getting a lawful request to turn over things like emails, text messages, phone call logs, direct messages on social media platforms, things like that. And so, of course, what's going to happen next, and mark my words, Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are not going to comply with the subpoenas. Then what's going to happen is this is going to end up in court, and the courts are going to decide whether or not to compel them to produce these documents under subpoena. And I can say that fairly confidently that they're not going to comply because Tim Walz just put this out on his X account, this statement from his office, where he essentially says, let me be absolutely clear, the state of Minnesota will not be drawn into political theater. This Justice Department investigation, sparked by calls for accountability in the face of violence, chaos, and the killing of Renee Good, does not seek justice. It is a partisan distraction. Skipping ahead, he concludes by saying Minnesota will not be intimidated into silence, and neither will I. And of course, going back a couple of days to the statements made by Jacob Frey, when the investigation was first announced, he also said, I will not be intimidated. My focus remains where it's always been, keeping our city safe. So this is going to end up in court. They're effectively going to ignore the subpoenas, and then a judge is going to decide whether or not these are lawful and justifiable, and whether or not Jacob Frey and Tim Walz and Keith Ellison are compelled to produce the evidence that the FBI is trying to subpoena. And we all know how that goes. Whether or not they're going to be forced to comply is going to depend on the judge that this gets in front of. Now, on the District Court of Minnesota, there's kind of a mixed bag of Trump appointees and Bush appointees, Clinton and Biden, and it's a toss-up. It's like 50-50. But the good news is the appeals court, the 8th Circuit, where this would go, if there's an appeal, the 8th Circuit is very conservative and ultimately would rule in the favor of the FBI, the DOJ. But unfortunately, by the time we got there, that would allow plenty of time for these deep state actors to scrub the evidence. I'm just being a realist here. Now, here's what gets me. Why are we not issuing a search warrant? I don't understand for the life of me why we're issuing a subpoena when we know how this game is played. If we have evidence that these people have conspired to impede or obstruct ICE, then why not take that evidence to a magistrate judge and get them to sign off on a search warrant and then go kick in a door? Because I think at this point, we all know how this game is played. We all know that they're not going to comply with the subpoenas. And I'm hoping that the FBI wises up quick and does what needs to be done. Because if you truly want to get your hands on that evidence, there's only one way to get it. And it's going to be through a lawfully executed search warrant and seizing it against their will. That's the only way you're going to get what you're looking for here. But I think the record is clear, and I think the evidence is very clear that Jacob Fry and Tim Walz and Keith Ellison, they have been stoking the flames. They have created a war against the federal government. They have emboldened these rioters, these not peaceful protesters that are obstructing ICE, that are destroying federal property, that are assaulting ICE officers and impeding law enforcement. The death of Renee Good is on their hands for emboldening and enabling these people to do what they're doing and making them feel like the government in Minnesota is on their side. Jacob Fry saying, get the F out of Minnesota. These people have absolutely conspired to impede and obstruct ICE. Just based on their public rhetoric alone, it is a coordinated effort, and therefore it is a conspiracy of two or more people. So I'd like to see more than just subpoenas. I'd like to see somebody actually get charged in this massive racketeering coordinated effort to not just obstruct ICE, but also defraud the American taxpayer of billions of dollars. I mean, that's money coming out of my pocket and your pocket. I worked for that money, and you took it, gave it to a bunch of Somalian pirates, and they took it and sent it overseas to fund al-Shabaab terrorism. I'm pretty pissed off, and I want to see some people in handcuffs and see some perp walks, not just subpoenas. But hey, that's just me. Let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments section. As always.
Okay, I got 2 in of Nick video. I got a 3.5 minute. It says on the bottom, after what point, what are they hiding? Thanks, Cam. Just about over. So that was interesting. So that lady Liz on YouTube got something on Pam Bondi, you guys, but I'm only going to play about 10 minutes of it because it's 51 minutes. So I want to get the XQ report in. And I'll play Doug after this one. He has a 9-minute.
My car smells like garlic bee. Per usual, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Rumble. It's good to see you guys. Welcome to another episode of The Liz Wheeler Show. Did you see the title of today's episode? Well, if you haven't, take a peek at it because today's episode is going to be a good one.
The whole thing,
some information has come to light, which I believe is very pertinent. I'm sure you will believe it's very pertinent about Attorney General Pam Bondi. Was Pam Bondi paid by Pfizer? And does this explain some of her behavior towards Pfizer while Attorney General at the Department of Justice? The answer to those questions are all yes, yes, and yes. And we are going to break it down in detail today. Today's episode is sponsored by All Family Pharmacy. You guys know I'm very careful about who I partner with, especially when it comes to healthcare. All Family Pharmacy is a partner that I genuinely trust. They're the good guys. When you don't want to wait a week to see a doctor to prescribe what you normally use, then you need All Family Pharmacy. When everyone around you is sick and you want to be prepared, you need All Family Pharmacy. And I'm pretty sure that's all of us right now. We're all around sick people. It feels like every bug possible is in the air. When your doctor treats you like you're asking for classified documents because you want ivermectin, you need All Family Pharmacy. Listen, they're not a corporate chain pharmacy. It's a family-owned business with licensed doctors who actually listen to you. Fast approvals on your medication requests and medications that work for you delivered right to your door. And I'm talking over 300 different medication options, including antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, and more. It's super simple. It's straightforward. A lot of people started this new year realizing that they want more autonomy over their health and not just hypothetically. This is how you do that. This is one easy switch that makes a real difference. So I highly recommend you check them out. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Liz. Use my code Liz10 to save 10% on your next order. Just familiarize yourself with them as a resource in your tool belt. Allfamilypharmacy.com/Liz. Use code Liz10 to save 10% on your next order. Okay, some interesting information has come to light, which is pertinent to what we're watching unfold happening in the Trump administration. Journeying back a couple of years to 2021, from 2021 to 2025, that 4-year time period, Pam Bondi, of course, before she was Attorney General, earned $203,738. That's a whole heck of a lot of money. It's almost $250,000 from a law firm where she worked. The law firm was called Panza, Maurer, and Maynard. Now, interestingly, leading up to Bondi's January 2025 financial disclosure, which of course would cover mostly her 2024 income. This is what she had to disclose during her confirmation process. She disclosed that she provided legal services through this law firm that she was working for.
This is big update. So we'll vote on it. So it's 1 for yes to play the whole thing and 2 for no. It's 55 minutes.
To Pfizer. Pfizer was one of this law firm's top clients, and Pam Bondi felt that it was pertinent to disclose the fact that she had served as some sort of counsel, legal counsel to Pfizer through this law firm. She felt that it was pertinent to disclose that to the United States government and to the American people before she was confirmed as Attorney General. Why would she feel that it was pertinent to disclose this? Well, the only reason that you would disclose something like this, there weren't other clients listed as entities to whom she provided legal services when she worked at Panza, Maurer, and Maynard. It was just Pfizer listed. So she must have believed that there was some or potential to be or the appearance of a conflict of interest between her role as Attorney General and the fact that she provided legal services to Pfizer and was paid through this law firm. Now, we don't know actually how much of this $203,738 that she received from the law firm was directly from Pfizer or not, but she listed only Pfizer as a client. that she disclosed to the United States government during her confirmation process. And so it's up to almost $250,000 that she potentially earned from Pfizer. Now, why is this important now? Now more so even than at the time. Well, immediately after Pam Bondi took office as Attorney General, obviously the top dog at the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi took action by canceling 3 enforcements against Pfizer. Yes, Pfizer, the pharmaceutical giant that had paid Attorney General Pam Bondi, albeit indirectly through the law firm because she represented them as legal counsel. They were subject to essentially being let off the hook by Bondi because the enforcement actions against them, this was related to corrupt business practices that they had allegedly committed overseas in Mexico and in China. Suddenly that was just erased. It was removed. Pam Bondi canceled that, mostly relating to the company's operations in Mexico, although also in China. And the allegations behind this non-compliance with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act was that they essentially committed bribery. They were buying off access to the business resources that they needed, the ability to do business in these countries. And suddenly when Pam Bondi took office, this was canceled. They were let off the hook. They were simply, you may go free, you may commit these actions again. All the while, you and I now know that Pam Bondi had been paid up to $250,000 by Pfizer through that law firm in the years leading up to Pam Bondi's being sworn in as Attorney General of the United States. This is very problematic. It is at the very least a gross perception of conflict of interest. When that's being very generous, that would be the best case scenario. That would be giving Pam Bondi the benefit of the doubt. The more realistic speculation or the more realistic view of what happened is that Pam Bondi was somewhat biased towards an old client of hers that had paid her a great deal amount of money, and that affected her actions as Attorney General. That's certainly a reasonable speculation for you to have, for me to have, for any one of us to have. And this is not an isolated incident. This is just the latest in a series of issues that have highlighted Pam Bondi, President Trump's Attorney General, as being a problematic member of the Trump administration. And listen, before we go any further, I want to reiterate something that I have said before to you that remains as important now, if not more so than it was when I first communicated this to you. When you are critical of people on your own side, the reaction that you get from others on your side is generally not positive. If I criticize the Trump administration, for example, I immediately get accused of being paid to criticize the Trump administration, being disloyal to President Trump, being a leftist, attention-seeking, all these false allegations, which are not true. None of them. They're all categorically false. And so I want to be very clear about the reason for being critical of a member of the Trump administration. And the reason is this. When you are friends with someone, when you are a true friend to someone, not just an acquaintance, not a social connection, when you are true friends with someone, you tell them the truth. Even if that truth hurts, even if that truth has negative consequences for you.
Okay, I guess I'll go on to the next one. Yes, that one's too long.
The Democrats are only messaging that ICE agents are dangerous under Trump.
Ooh, big bad.
We have a video from a gal that I need you guys to help me put this on blast to spread it all over the internet to get this message to Trump, this young lady. This message is Trump needs to be underlining it all day, that ICE agents killed more people under Obama and no Democrat said anything, proving they don't care. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we make our display of this lady, and we're going to try and multiply this message out all over the internet. Here she is. Watch this. This is shocking.
It's wild how short people's memories are. Under Obama administration, 56 people died under ICE custody.
56. That's not a conspiracy. That's public record. According to the ACLU, under Obama, under ICE, failure of medical care, ICE malpractice. The list is long as to why and how these deaths occurred. And somehow, no mass riots. Obama deported over 3 million people. Let's not forget that, people. I say that in so many of my videos. Millions. And a lot of them were fast removals. No real hearing, no judge, no full due process. And here's the part liberals don't like to bring up. Tom Homan? Yeah, that Tom Homan, he was running enforcement under Obama. And during that time, he was given an award back in...
Okay, look at this presidential medal of Obama giving it to Tom Homan because he's such a butt kicker. So all of this cosplay of Democrats, guys, just dismiss it. Get this lady's message to Trump. I'll continue it here just to wrap this up.
2015 for his work with ICE. Even Democratic states allowed ICE to do their job under Obama. Here's my thing. If you're going to be mad, be consistently mad. Liberals were not mad when ICE was doing their job. All 8 years with Obama, they weren't mad in the streets. Now, I'm not saying that deaths don't matter. They always do. I'm saying the outrage only appears when it's politically convenient.
That's right. This is politics, guys. This is why I laugh. People go, oh, how can you be so insensitive as laugh? No, I'm laughing at this being just Democrat politics. Them pretending to care is funny to me. I mean, it's evil, but I'm laughing at them. It's so pathetic. And then I'm laughing at our side if we believe them and go, oh, we can't take that strong of a stance. The Democrats, they have a point to make. Maybe they're a little bit right. Wrong. Never put an X next to a Democrat. Never trust a Democrat. They never care when they say they care and hide behind these victims. Now, here's Ilhan Omar. They opened an investigation on her officially, the House Investigations Committee, for her value going up to $30 million.
This woman, Ilhan Omar's net worth went up nearly $30 million. The question is how? Here's what we know. Omar's husband, a former political consultant, owns a venture capital firm based in Washington, D.C., and a winery in California. Take a look at these numbers. In 2023, Omar disclosed a maximum of $50,000 in assets at the winery. The next year, Dana, that number increased to $5 million.
Whoops.
Meanwhile, her husband's company, Rose Lake Capital, reported a maximum of $1,000 in assets in 2023. The next year, it was $25 million. Despite that, Omar denied being a millionaire earlier this year, posting on X, quote, "I barely have thousands, let alone millions." House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News an investigation is underway, writing, quote, "The committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon." But Omar says she's being targeted.
Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations. None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be.
And because if they're launched in Minnesota, they get a Minnesota Democrat appointed judge and a Democrat jury. So don't pretend like you're investigated like everyone else.
Of course, others see it differently. Elon Musk says Omar committed fraud, while President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "She should be in jail or even a worse punishment, sent back to Somalia."
The worst, it's worse. Okay, chat, you tell me. Would you rather be in an American jail or be sent back to the country of Somalia? Because, you know, there might be some pretty posh American jails compared to living in Somalia where you can't get clean water.
Omar authored the Meals Act in 2020, which loosened oversight on food programs during COVID. Federal prosecutors say one of those programs, Feeding Our Future, stole $250 million through fake meal sites. We did reach out to Omar as part of this story, but so far, we have not heard back, Dana.
She didn't reply to Fox News, really? Ilhan Omar, she doesn't want you to know anything about that. Look, we've had amazing ICE raids. Well, I think I'll show you at the very end of this episode, the 3,000 bus illegals that were deported just over this weekend. Here's the bigger news. 221,000 recruits have applied to work for ICE. So the Democrats are trying to make the ICE into the new satanic whatever. 221,000 Americans have applied to be ICE agents.
So we've had almost 221,000 new recruits or applicants that have applied to be new recruits. You would think that the staggering amount of violence against ICE special agents and deportation officers would decrease our recruiting, but it actually hasn't had that effect. I think what a lot of people want to do is they want to get into federal law enforcement. They want to work for a quality law enforcement agency. And that's what we're seeing here in this. But, it makes us feel better to know the fact that we have so many people behind us that would still want to join ICE and join the ICE mission, be a law enforcement officer, even though they're getting demonized and attacked every day. So it's definitely given us hope.
Not just demonized and attacked. Remember, Ted Lieu said that they're taking video of ICE agents and they can all be prosecuted en masse if Democrats win again in 2026, in 2028. They will go after our own federal ICE agents. They're going to capture their faces on camera or their badge on camera, and they're going to all do mass incarceration and laying off. So we have to keep Trump in office if you want to keep having illegals deported by our fantastic ICE agents. Meanwhile, here's Trump and the GOP are gaining favorability. Let's look at this tweet on immigration. Anti-ICE insurrectionists overplayed their weak hand in a big way, and this poll was taken from the mob stormed the church service yesterday. It was a massive optics disaster for Democrats. Feds have leeway to keep hammering away. Indictments will be handed down. So this just shows that the Democrats, while they remain ahead of us at 43 to 45%, it is starting to cut into their vote advantage. This very unpopular topic of illegal immigration is cutting against Democrats and is helping Republicans. Here's that last bit on the Department of Homeland Security just announced they've arrested 3,000 illegal immigrants just in Minnesota last night. Tim Walz's security playground is getting cleared out hard.
DHS announced tonight that they have arrested a total of some 3,000 illegal immigrants in Minnesota, including over the weekend, several convicted of crimes such as homicide and sexual assault. Meantime,
these homicide and sexual assault, these are hardened criminals, okay? These aren't family men like the Democrats want you to think. The Democrats are defending homicide and sexual assault. I just want the women in the audience. You might be liberal. You probably feel guilty voting for Republicans because you're told it's anti-woman. You realize now, like, everything the Democrats have been telling women, blacks, and gays is a lie. It's the exact opposite. That is, they would actually have all of you, the feminists in the audience, sexually assaulted by an illegal Somali. If it meant covering it up and not allowing that story to get out, they would not make a big deal about it because they turn on and off their emotions depending on the political benefits. That's why they covered for Barack Obama when ICE agents accidentally killed some people. They didn't make a big deal out. They didn't march in the streets because it didn't politically benefit them. That's why we never put an X next to a Democrat. You cannot trust them. Are you still on board with Trump? Are you still on board with helping me carry the baton and give that lady's message to Trump? Get it to Trump. It's an excellent political point, and then we'll see if Trump picks it up in the next couple news day cycles. I'm Doug in exile.
Spinning on Fanatics Casino, explained by Patrick Schwarzenegger, while also spinning.
Okay, I got a 10-minute one and a couple short ones.
The pastor of City's Church in St. Brooks is a local ICE official. Today, President Donald Trump said this.
It's a man murder. It's one of many. One of many. All they want to do is get him out. They want to take him out of our country. And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid.
Also on Sunday, ex-CNN host Don Lemon entered the church. He said he was there to interview churchgoers. Yesterday, Lemon said this.
I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy.
Today, President Trump said this about Don Lemon.
Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight. I saw him the way he walked in that church. It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible.
The DOJ is now looking into Lemon's actions. And on Friday, the DOJ issued subpoenas for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey over an alleged conspiracy to impede federal immigration reports. And now, according to CNN, and they are sourcing two people familiar with the matter, and I don't like anonymous sources, but they are saying The DOJ is planning to subpoena Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison related to possible obstruction of federal officers in Minnesota. United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, joins me. Nice to see you.
Hi, Greta.
I looked at the calendar, and a year ago, you were still governor of South Dakota. There are 5 more days. That looks like a pretty calm job, doesn't it?
It was a little bit of a different job. That's true. Every day now, and every single thing that I'm doing seems like it's a national security issue. The Department of Homeland Security is very busy between ICE and Border Patrol, Secret Service, FEMA, all of it. We're very busy.
You know, we focus on different stories of what's going on, and I'll ask you about Minneapolis in a second. But your job, I also did a little research to see, what you're in charge of. People oftentimes don't know what does the Secretary of Treasury do? What do you do? Just tell me what your work is like.
Well, it's the second largest agency in the federal government outside the Department of War, and the vast majority of it is law enforcement. We train all the federal law enforcement officers in the country. We have TSA, FEMA, Secret Service, everything that has to do with keeping people safe here in the homeland, we have jurisdiction over. And so we are very busy trying to make sure that we do that we anticipate not only what would be a public safety threat, but also terrorists. And when you have an administration like the Biden administration that let 20 million people into this country unvetted, it's a big job to make sure that people are safe.
Do you have ports too? Is that under your jurisdiction?
I do. Well, we have CBP, so that's everything that comes in and out of our country. Even we have cybersecurity, making sure that we have the responsibility for the continuation of government. If the worst day happened in the United States, it would be the Department of Homeland Security with FEMA that would continue to run our government and make sure that we're safe. We know what's coming in, what's leaving, what's being communicated, and who's in charge.
How about sleeping at night? Do you get calls?
I don't sleep very much lately.
Do you get called, though? You get calls in the middle
I get called from President Trump quite often. In fact, we probably talked 4 or 5 times yesterday for quite some time. He's
after 10 o'clock at night?
Oh, all the time. He called me one time at 3:30 in the morning, and he said, "Kristi, what are you doing?" And I said, "Sir, I'm sleeping." And he said, "Oh, I'll call you back." And I said, "No, don't call me back. I'll talk now." But he hung up and called back an hour later. So he is a man that I admire for his tenacity and for his energy. He very much cares about getting stuff done and getting it done as soon as possible.
Well, I've been critical of the CIA in the past because, we've had problems with 9/11 and other things, saying, why didn't they catch and everything? But we oftentimes don't hear about when someone has done his job well. I mean, I suppose when Homeland Security does its job well to protect us, is that we don't hear about it, because that wouldn't be a good idea to tip us off.
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. If nothing happens that day, that's a good day for me. That means that we kept people safe, that we went after the bad actors, that we did our security and safety measures appropriately, and that we trained all of our law enforcement officers to do their jobs and to do it with excellence. So that's one of the things that President Trump and I talked about a lot yesterday. Was he just said, "Kristi, I don't understand how these people can stand up in Minnesota and defend rapists, people who have abused our children, people who have murdered and taken lives. How are they fighting for them? You have to talk more about the bad people that you're getting off the streets every day."
I once to talk years ago to Secretary of HHS, Tommy Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
And he was on the show, talk about anthrax. And I said, "What keeps you up at night?" And he said, "The food supply." Oh, wow. And he told me this whole story about the food supply. So then I was up for a few nights worrying about the food supply. What keeps you up?
I would say just being in front of these bad actors, knowing there's so many in this country, ones that I know they are here and I haven't found them yet. And the fact that we need to tell our story. I'm constantly trying to figure out how I can communicate better. How can I talk to the American public so that they truly understand the threats that we have right here at home, and that all we're trying to do is to protect the people that get up every day and go to work and want to raise their kids safely. That's what our officers do every day, and we're working hard to do it and then talk about it so they truly understand what our mission is.
How do you select who you're going out to pick up? I take it they're people who've been arrested on something and have been released and not turned, even though they're not legally in this country, but have not been detained or turned over.
This Friday,
I need to find out who killed my
We'll
wife.
probably do one more 4-minute one, you guys. And make it 2 hours this time.
This is a chance for you to clear your name, if you can.
Mercy, rated PG-13, only in theaters Friday.
Small business owners are do-it-yourselfers. When my business was new, I couldn't afford an attorney,
over to ISIS. Are those the targeted people?
Well, we have a national targeting center that identifies those who've committed crimes. So they've done something in this country or in their home country that has been criminal charges against them, or they've been convicted. Many times these individuals are in jails or prisons in some of our states already that we just want those local law enforcement officers to turn over to us. For example, one of the things we've asked Governor Walz for and Mayor Fry is to give us just the criminals you have in jail. They've released 490 murderers and rapists and drug traffickers onto their streets rather than just give them to us. And that's what I don't understand.
Well, some of them, though, have multiple names.
Yes.
Which was a big problem. If you come in illegally, you don't necessarily have a social security card, you don't have a passport, there's no database back in your home country because it's a country we're not friendly with.
Yeah, or they've lied on their paperwork to come in, and then they've overstayed and not shown up for their immigration court hearings. They've been notified, and then they've run into DUIs, other instances. So what we're doing is targeting those who have committed criminal acts. But if we show up and we're going after a TDA member in an apartment, and they're in an apartment with 12 other people, we're going to ask those other people who they are, what their identity is, just like we would any other law enforcement operation. I think that's what people don't know, is that we're doing the same thing that law enforcement has done for years under this administration, the Biden administration, all of them. We haven't changed what we do in these types of situations. We ask everyone there who they are and why they're affiliated and surrounded by these criminals.
The church, I'm going to go to the church. That's a particularly troubling issue because you've got the pastor. I purposely didn't name him, but he at least has been reported he's associated with ICE. And
thank you for not naming him, because people don't realize that when you keep naming someone over and over again, you increase the threats against them. And that pastor really did a remarkable thing there, trying to protect his parishioners.
And even the parishioners, I imagine, have feel intimidated and.
They did, and there's going to be arrests in the next several hours, Greta. There will be arrests tied to that, and people will be brought to justice for how they violated the law in that situation.
Well, Don Lemon is a journalist, and so I thought he was going, and so when I first saw it, I assumed he was going in as a journalist covering it. I mean, I go into bad places and ask questions all the time, but when his comment about the white supremacy all of a sudden made me think, well, maybe he wasn't there as a journalist.
Yeah, well, Greta, not only that comment, but the fact that ahead of time, before this even happened, he said that he had conducted some surveillance before they went into this church. He identified individuals that were going in with him that were activists in the work that they'd done in the past. The fact that this entire situation was then posted on the Black Lives Matter website, all of that is something that they're going to be responsible for.
Well, Don Lemon did me a huge favor years ago when he was at CNN. I was at Fox, and so I guess I'll just wait to see how this one plays out. Anyway, United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greta.
People think news just happens.
News out of Michigan, 4 minutes, and that will wrap it up for tonight.
The lawsuit during this meeting, accusing them of making decisions out of public view. News Channel 3's Abigail Taylor was at that meeting tonight and joins us live in the studio with the response from those council members. Abigail?
Yeah, Jess, the plaintiff behind this lawsuit tells me she's seeking fines against 4 Comstock board members, as well as an injunctive relief or court's order that something has to change, she says, to rebuild community trust.
The Comstock Township Board called a special meeting to review a FOIA appeal from a resident and to get a review in ethics from their attorney.
If you abide by these standards, these 4 ethical standards, you're probably going to keep yourself out of trouble.
The officials say the meeting centering on building transparency and trust was planned, but it took an unexpected turn.
And by the way, I got to serve 4 of you for meeting at the wrong place at the wrong time.
During public comment, legal papers inside yellow envelopes handed over to 4 board members, Clerk Nicole Beauchamp and trustees Christy Cherry, Bob Pratt, and Terry McGyver.
No, don't you dare. No. Yep, sure you don't.
You're not doing that. This is not the place to do this. No, it's not.
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, no, it's not.
The lawsuit, Smith versus Comstock Charter Township board members, alleges the 4 officials violated Michigan's Open Meetings Act.
Anything about the township and public business is done transparently and openly in accordance to law.
with the Open Meetings Act. This was not done.
Smith claims she witnessed the 4 board members coming out of a law office together earlier this month.
We're not depriving them of a right to have legal counsel. We are depriving them of the right to violate the Open Meetings Act by doing it together when they're discussing township business, aka a recall that they're all being subject to at the same time.
The recall against the clerk and 3 trustees advanced by the Kalamazoo County Election Commission in December. Residents behind the recall pointing to a perceived pattern of votes against the community's wishes, particularly advancing a battery energy storage system in the township.
Failure to act ethically can provoke a recall.
As far as the recall, residents will decide on that through a petition with a set amount of signatures. As far as the lawsuit, that will come from a judge. After the meeting, I asked all 4 board members for a response to the recall against them and the folder they'd been served. Here's part of Trustee Christy Cherry's response.
Not even totally sure what's in the envelope tonight, so I don't want to comment on that. Sure. The recall is probably not the best thing. We are trying to work together for the better of the township. You know, but yeah, if you have questions, please reach out.
Trustee McIver says he'll look into it. Trustee Pratt and Clerk Beauchamp both declined to comment.
The attorney noted during that presentation that those code of ethics are not rule of law for the township, suggesting that they adopt their own policy and fines for violations. Smith says her lawsuit isn't based on township law or any kind of policy. She says it's supported by the state constitution. Live in the studio, Abigail Taylor, News Channel 3.
Abigail, thank you.
Okay, that was Michigan news. That's going to wrap it up tonight for 2 hours tonight. See what happens tomorrow when Trump thing, but we'll be on till 6, so if someone overdue myself. Thanks, Kay, Tim, Lucy, and Carol, everybody. God bless everybody. Of all, remember, please hit the like and sub over to the backup channels, both all in the description box. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, never give up. And signing off till tomorrow evening, unless something happens. Sign off, Chico and Dude. Take care, you guys.